Howdy, howdy, y'all. Welcome back to Some Antics. What great timing. Alex Trost and the Front End Horse crew, thank you so much for rating. It is great to have all of you here. I am joined today by my doppelganger, or arguably, I'm his doppelganger. Please welcome to the stream, Ben Holmes. Ben, how's it going?
Hello, Ben. It's going great. If you can't tell, I dressed up as you today, as in I just put on some black frame glasses, and you know, it's close enough. It's close enough, I think. I could have worn the hair down, but
There we go.
I want
Yeah.
to show off a little bit.
We people have to tell us apart somehow,
I mean, it's something.
Yep.
It is.
Um,
It is pretty close.
So yeah, I'd seen you around Twitter, but mostly I've seen you bouncing around the same Discord servers. I found you first in Cassidy's server, and now we're both in the Front End Horse Discord server. Which Alex, if you're there, please go ahead and put the link to that in the Discord, the Front End Horse Discord server. But yeah, we bounced around some of the same places, and I'm super excited to have you on. Would you like to introduce yourself for folks who haven't seen you yet?
Yes, hello. I am the other more handsome Ben. I have been doing front end web development for a long time, ever since high school, actually. I did a random internship they should have not let me do at all. And then slowly worked my way from Bower and Angular way back in the day up to all of the weird tools that we have going on now. I am doing front end web development over at Peloton, actually, doing a lot of React and TypeScript stuff there. It's very fancy. And outside of that, I've been just trying to do a lot of like blogging, newsletters, learning about Eleventy, of course, just doing a lot of things and probably burning myself out too much in the process. But
Incredible.
It's been a fun journey. It's been a fun journey. And most recently, been working on a little project with Eleventy to make React and Vue and Svelte and all that magical stuff work with existing projects. So that's mostly what we're going to get into today, I think.
Excellent. I think my computer froze. I decided to try to open up the Twitter address bar, and everything froze, including you. I think folks can still hear you, but we've got a question in the chat from Anthony who wants to know
Yes.
whether you have to ride a bike while you work. And I believe that is in the bylaws.
So you can't really do it from home. They do have a custom setup, which is a wooden plank you can put over the handlebars and just set your laptop on there. We're going back to work in person very soon. So hopefully I'll be able to try it out then. But at home, I've just been standing. Got a standing desk.
Got it.
I can walk in place if I want to, but it's the best I've got.
Everything is so frozen for me. Jeez.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is fun. So,
It's no problem. Maybe just quit. We're messing around with the preview version of Safari, and
Yeah.
that might be bombing our stream.
It could be. Yeah, let's see if I can do that. In the meantime, so we're gonna be doing some stuff with Eleventy, and specifically, you mentioned a project that you've got called Slinkity, and I will absolutely, once I get the chance, show that off. But in the meantime, can you kind of talk about what Slinkity is and how you were inspired to build it?
Yes, absolutely. So Slinkity is it's a fun name inspired by a slinky, which will be the mascot at some point. But it was built because originally when I was building my personal site, I challenged myself to not use any frameworks at all. So I kind of had to build my own build setup, get markdown files working, figure out some way to process it with Node, and then I ended up with the most janky single page app ever. And it was not an accessible experience in any way. You would be very disappointed. But it was a crazy learning experience for sure. And I eventually realized while I was researching all the tools that I was using, dynamic imports are really useful, like ES modules and all those buzzwords. Eleventy is a tool I should have known about from the beginning. I didn't use it because I thought Jekyll's the only option. Surely there's nothing I can use. So that was great. And then Snowpack and Vite or Vit. I'm not French, but it's one of those. Those are, yeah, I've heard Vit too. But yeah, all those tools are very interesting because they're a whole new take on bundling where you can just throw in a JSX file and it'll output a perfect thing for a website and you don't have to do any work. And it's like, this is the perfect dream team of technologies. Why can't we just bridge them all together in some way? And there have been some efforts to do that. I have seen people getting Vite to work with Eleventy. I went with Snowpack because I could pronounce the name. It's the first one I tried,
Okay.
but it was interesting how easy it was. Um, the end goal for the project was I wanted to just build my site using HTML and Markdown, nothing fancy. But then if I want to reach for components and slot them into my existing site, I should just be able to like write a little short code that says insert React here, here's the path to the component, and just slide that into my existing Eleventy site. I shouldn't have to like set up a Webpack config or bind myself to only using React. That's like the main problem people run into is like, if you're using Next.js, you can't switch to Svelte. You have to rebuild the whole site.
Yes.
So in this case, you can just slot in little components where you need them, keep everything else static, and have some flexibility where you go. And right now, this project is early stages. It's not an NPM package or anything, but it is usable enough for me to do that 2-minute demo that is in the Slinkity landing page. I'm working on it though. It's coming.
All right. It looks like our video is back. So word to the wise: if you're starting a stream, don't use Safari Technology Preview. That might be the lesson here. I am so sorry for that, y'all. Thank you so much for sticking through that. And Ben, I apologize for that as well. But we're back. Yes, please go check out Slinkity. This is really exciting, and it builds on the same kind of promise that, like, if you've heard of tools like Astro, right?
Yes.
Bring your own framework and still get that static output.
Yeah, it's very similar actually. I was working on my tool before Astro existed, actually. And then I saw them putting out all the docs and I was like, oh my God, was I building Astro this whole time? Turns out I wasn't.
Sure.
Because, I mean, this just installs into existing Eleventy sites. So if you already built your site with Eleventy, pop this in and you got React. You just unlocked some stuff.
All right.
So it's kind of spreading the love that Astro started into all of the stuff you already use.
Cool. Well, so we are not actually going to be using Slinkity today, but rather we're going to be talking about some of the Eleventy features that support Slinkity, right? This some of the things that we could wire up in our own applications without even needing your tool, just as a way to really just explore the outer edges of Eleventy's API.
Exactly.
Anthony is, first of all, Anthony's saying the homepage looks really great. Alex Trost says, love the idea of that. And then Anthony is calling our attention to the term multiple discovery for what's happened here between Slinkity and Astro.
Sure is.
So yeah, I think we got a lot to do. We're already 10 minutes in, so I'd love to go ahead and get started.
Let's do it. So we are going to be using an experimental API in Eleventy right now. It's accessible just by throwing an experimental flag when you run it. But it should be interesting. This is the end goal is to build a very basic version of Slinkity from scratch.
Okay.
Wiring up with Snowpack and everything. But we'll start small. So you have a project pulled up here, right?
Yes. It's totally empty, like brand new.
Totally empty. All right, let's do it. Cool. So I guess to start, you can just npm install Eleventy or at Eleventy/Eleventy.
All right. And are we installing a specific version here?
I think I mentioned to you we could use the canary, but I think we can just roll with this.
Let's try it.
We should be good. Yeah.
So we are installing Eleventy now, and then are we gonna need what scripts do you want to have? Like, are we just gonna go with your typical build goes to Eleventy and dev does Eleventy -- serve?
Sure. Let's just do the dev one here.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, all we need is in all uppercase. Yeah, you can do this part first. So a couple things. Actually, yeah, we can use serve. We can use serve to start. Yeah, this should work. And on the front of this, just add a little environment variable that is in all caps, Eleventy_experimental.
All right. Ooh, yet another freeze. Fun.
No.
It's thinking. There we go. Cool.
There we are. And I think you have to say equals true. I'm not sure.
Sense.
That's what I've been doing.
I need to start figuring out how to speed up my computer for these streams because it's getting ridiculous. All right. Um. Oh yes, that's
Override.
correct. Yep. Cool. Let me close out of that. Don't save. Then come back in and paste it back in because we just installed Eleventy. All right. Cool. So we've got Eleventy. It's all installed. We've got this. We've got our own dev script here. So we're
Yep.
setting this experimental flag equals true, and this is going to enable certain features in Eleventy.
Yes. It's mainly just going to unlock the way to add custom extensions.
Cool.
So no sense in running it because there's nothing right now. But let's go ahead and make a .11d.js file.
All right. Rip. Okay. There we go.
Coolio. And all you'll need to do is just module.exports a function.
Cool. Module.exports is going to be a function, and I'm guessing we're going to go ahead and pull in our 11D config as well.
Absolutely, yep. And I prefer to return the source directory as our input, just so things are a little separated. Yeah.
So, doing some magic here, but all of these things are on the 11D docs. If you're curious, I guess we're kind of starting with a base assumption that you've probably seen 11D before, but if you haven't, y'all go ahead and put your questions in the chat.
Yeah, no problem. This is just saying like our site's going to be in a source folder. Go look there.
We can go ahead and
it's nothing crazy. So yeah, might as well. And you can, yeah, I guess you can make an index.html in there.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah. And this guy can just have, yeah, HTML, and then that, yep. And just put bracket content inside the body, and I think we're good. Or actually, no, sorry. This isn't a layout. You can just put some stuff in here because we're going to start by seeing if we can get some styles working.
There we go. Okay, cool.
Hello, chat. And now this is something that is quite annoying with 11D, at least if you're just starting out. It doesn't process Sass files for you. If you're used to writing CSS and Sass, you got to set up a little build in order to do that yourself. They have plugins for it that work pretty well. But we're going to show off a way to do it where you don't need an extra Sass folder. You can just make them like inline in your source folder.
Yes. Yeah, because I've definitely seen a whole lot of different approaches to this, right? Because like I know some people go with a whole like gulp configuration and stuff like that. But
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we're just gonna have some straight up Sass files. So what would you like me to do?
Yeah, in the source file folder, you can just make an index.scss or style. Yeah, I like naming my naming the HTML and CSS files the same if they're related. They're not scoped or anything, but it's fine. And I think you made a main tag. Maybe we can just make like color red. So if we do this right, we'll see a red header. And that's kind of it. I mean, we can do fancy Sass stuff. It's a Sass file. But we're going to figure out a way to... yeah.
Metallic. You know, just to prove that it really is doing sassy things.
It is sassy, yes. So at this point, you might as well just start up the dev server to see what it would do if we do nothing.
Okay. Cool. So that I'm going to do npm run dev. And it's got ourselves a site. There's just an index.html. It's just our markup. As you can see, there's no styles or anything like that in here. And if I go to, it's 8080, I believe is the 11D default here, we'll get our unstyled markup.
Yes. Hello, chat, said in Times New Roman. So now we want a way to actually process SCSS files. By default, 11D ignores stuff it doesn't understand. I can relate to that. If you go to 11d.js, we can tell 11d hey, SCSS files are something we can process. So the first thing to do is Eleventy config dot add template formats.
Add template format. Is that singular or plural?
It's plural.
Cool.
Yeah. And then you don't need an array, actually. It's funny. But you can just put SCSS in quotes. And this says that is now a template of some sort. Could be HTML, could not be.
I saved it, and immediately the index.scss popped up in my build site.
Yeah, if you read the docs, when you do this approach, it's basically like a pass-through copy. So it'll take what it sees, paste it, and that's it. But we're gonna process it, of course. We don't just want to paste it. So you can do Eleventy config dot add extension, and this is where you can say, how do I compile it? So you just put SCSS in quotes.
And then I can see it says extension here, so it's asking for a something, probably a function.
It's an object, actually. It's an object of multiple functions. So this is not documented at all. I crawled through some source code and figured it out. Ooh. But the way it works, once this is released, it'll be more interesting. But the first thing you tell it is whether or not Eleventy should try to read the file. So it's a Boolean. You can just say read false. And what that means is that it's not going to look for front matter. If you tell it true, it's going to look for the front matter syntax and try to piece out some data. So we don't have any data, so we're just going to do that. And then you can put output file extension. Is the next option.
And this, I'm guessing, is going to be CSS, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
By default, it'll be HTML. And this will tell it to do that. And then you need to have a get data function, because we just told it don't read the data. We're going to tell you what data there is. And there's not really going to be anything. The only thing that I would do here is make a function.
All right. Is this your preferred syntax for that, or do you do it?
Why not?
Sure.
I'll take it. And then the input to that is actually the input path, but we don't need to use it. I'm just telling people, like, if you need it, you can process it. But the only thing we're going to return from this is we could do an empty object, but I'd suggest doing an object with layout and then empty quotes.
Okay. And why is that?
That's a great question. I discovered this edge case yesterday where if you are setting a layout, like a default layout for your whole app, it'll try to wrap every template in it. So it'll basically wrap your CSS in a big HTML template if you're not careful.
Okay.
And this just says, hey, CSS doesn't do layouts or any of your weird templating things, so please don't make that mistake.
Gotcha.
There might be other edge cases here too, but that's the only one I've seen. They need to look out for.
All right.
And now from here, all we have to do is tell it, how do we compile Sass?
Okay.
So you can just make a compile key below this get data.
All right. Compile. And is this also a function?
Yes. So it's actually a function within a function. So the first layer is like, how do I compile this file? And then the second layer is, how do I apply data to this file?
Okay.
So it'll make more sense if we write it out.
Sure.
If you just say return function, and this function receives data, but we're not going to use it, so you can just leave it blank.
I'll fill it in just
yeah,
so that
yeah, might as well.
Documented.
If we needed that step, we would do it. But all we're going to do here is just compile Sass. I guess to make sure that it's working, we can just return some bogus word and see if it happens. It's like return, creative. So now we have done that.
Ooh,
and we should see, yes. And if you click on it, yes.
Okay.
Look at that.
All right, all right.
So it'll just be a one-to-one copy, and you can tell it exactly what to do.
So can I take a guess as to what the next steps would be?
Install Sass.
Yeah, install Sass, right? And then just like return Sass dot whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do it.
So, all right. I'll go ahead and kill the dev server. Okay, so there's tons of different like Sass libraries. Cover End, thank you so much for the follow. So there's tons of different Sass stuff. There's like Node Sass, there's Gulp Sass, like tons of different libraries. I think there's just one called Sass. Like, which one are you referring to here?
Just Sass. Yeah.
Cool.
I went through that whole list of options and realized Sass just works. So I don't know what language it uses under the hood.
Mhm.
I hope it's the efficient one.
All right, so probably up here I'll need to like const Sass equals require Sass. Now that we got that, um, we're getting sassy. Thank you, Travis.
It's waiting for it.
All right, cool. So at this point, I want to now transform my Sas template into CSS output. What do I do for that?
Yes. So I had to look it up. First of all, Sass doesn't support async await.
Oof.
So I would suggest importing Promisify from util.
Whoa.
If y'all are unfamiliar with this weirdness.
Okay. Sorry, const. That's
Yeah,
probably a
I'm so
destructured
used to it at this point, but to refresh you.
promisify equals require. Is util just. Wow, that's one I
It's
just
just
have
a
built.
thing.
I don't know that I've seen this. Huh.
Oh, really? I found it on Stack Overflow a while ago.
Okay.
But if you've never heard of this, this is basically something Node gives you so that if something doesn't work with async await, you can make it work with async await. So all you have to do is say like make a new const and assign it to some stuff.
Sorry, make a new const where?
Just above this.
Okay.
Well, I guess we don't have to do it at the top, but I was just gonna do it here.
All right, so const.
It can be like Sass renderer or something.
Oh, I see. Renderer
Yeah.
equals, and it's gonna be like Sass dot.
Render, yeah. Yeah, that one. And just wrap that in Promisify, and then it'll be happy. Oh, if you move it below the import.
Okay, so we're promisify. I pass a reference to the render function, like that.
Yes.
Okay, got it. I see what.
Oh, there's a typo in there, but yes. At the end of Promisify.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Gotta catch him. Okay, so we have that, and now we are. I promise this will work. We can Sass renderer our thing.
Okay, down here, like.
Oh. Yes.
Cool. Okay.
We can. How does this work again? Oh yeah. You can call Sass renderer, and apparently it takes in like the name of the file and it'll read it for you. So I forgot to mention, but on the compile function, it'll tell you the input path as the second parameter, not the first one. The first one is kind of useless.
What is the first one?
It's a confusing one. It can be multiple values depending on the context because Zach is a madman. It can be a permalink, it can be a function, and I don't quite understand why.
Okay.
But if you have a permalink, that it would be that. That much I know. But yeah, input path is just the path to the file that came in. So in our case, it would be the index.scss file that we made.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to pass that to Sass renderer. And you just make an object here.
Okay, yeah.
With file as the key. Yeah, they're a little obtuse about it. So now that'll work as long as we use async await.
Okay, so that's async compile and then return await Sass renderer. Like that.
You might need await on. You might need a sync on the returned function.
Oh yes, yes.
Will.
Think.
Yeah, it's hard to think about functions within functions, but
yeah,
one requirement of this. It's a two-step rendering process.
Okay. So now if I check index CSS, will it work?
No. There's one more little thing.
Okay.
That the result of that returns an object with CSS as the key. So you could return, if you wrap the whole thing in parentheses and then .css, I think that'll work.
I don't think I even need the.
Or maybe you don't.
Right? Because like. You know what? I'm gonna break this out. Okay, so render.
Let's play it safe.
Equals await Sass renderer file input path. So we got that. I'll add a little semi at the end because why not? And then so we're returning rendered dot. There we go. It recognizes the property.
That's it. That's our guy.
Cool. All right, so now it should work, right? I should be able to go to here and see.
I sure hope so. All right. We might need to check our console output here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it just wasn't happy
nice.
about. Like, I think it basically crashed, right? So
it crashed.
there we
yes.
go. Okay.
Look
so
at
rerun.
that.
Yeah.
And then we have styles.
That's incredible. Wow. It is nice to not have to do a whole bunch of like gulp workarounds. Because I know that there have been some really nice like efforts to get this working, like the whole Sass stuff. Like, I want to shout out friend of the show who's in the chat today, Stephanie Eccles, who has her Eleventy Sass skeleton starter project, which has
love skeletons.
I believe it's a gulp. I think is how she's doing it. Yeah. So
I love the artwork.
Yeah, so good. This is a fantastic. Okay, yeah. So this is a fantastic starter, but it's also nice to like actually see some kind of first class ways to do this. That's
exactly
really nice.
right. Yeah, because it'll pick up on each file, and you can do all sorts of things. Like you can override the output path. So if you wanted it to output to like underscore styles or some very fancy name.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
You could just change in the get data function, you could pass it a different permalink and it'll just change it.
Yeah, so I could say, for instance, yeah, I like your style, or like, I'll just call it styles. There we go. So styles, and then info path, and we'll see if this works, right?
I hope so.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Or maybe.
Let's look at the console.
Link.substring is not a function.
Oh, good lord.
Anyways, but yeah, it's you could imagine that there are things that you could do with this, right? Like
use your imagination.
Yes.
I think I had something. If I can't find it in 2 seconds, we can just move on. But that is something you can do.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I found it.
Oh, what's up?
I found a weird thing you have to remember. You have to say dynamic permalink false, or at least I had to.
Okay, that sounds like it's trying to account for serverless stuff.
Maybe.
But then you would do your like permalink.
Yeah, and maybe you could do like /styles/ because if you do input path, it'll make an SCSS file because that's the extension. Awkwardly, yeah, it's annoying. But if you just say like an absolute path,
let's just say styles.
We'll just see it.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at that. There
so
it is.
Cool. You can customize it. We could do fancier things if we wanted, but I think right now it was good. Okay. So I think for today we'll keep everything in this file, but I do wanted to get I did want to get your opinion on something, which is that would you pull this object out to like another file or something like that, like just to keep this file pretty clean, or would you leave it in here?
It's a great question. I mean, if you look at the Slinkity code base, there's a reason it's private. It is a monolithic file of a bunch of these. Because I basically had to overwrite Markdown and Pug and all the other ones too for reasons I won't get into. But yeah, I would suggest doing it if things get unwieldy. It's easy to do. It's literally just pass in an object and you can import it from some other file.
So so we've got this now. We can guarantee that we're building, and you know what? I'm going to nuke our site directory just because we've kind of polluted it with old ways of doing things. So we've got
that is the thing.
And we're getting our index CSS. So I'll just go ahead and plug this in, right? So link.
Oh sure.
Rel equals.
Forgot we didn't even do that.
Yeah. Style sheet href equals. It's not going to be SCSS, but this CSS there. We got that. Now if I come back here, our lovely stuff.
Hello, chat.
There's actually something to be said for this aesthetic. I'm kind of here for it. Red and italicized times.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
Yeah. If you copy paste that a bunch of times, make it off center.
Be good.
I mean,
all right. Cool. So we were able to transform some Sass, and we could get as wonky as you want with Sass, right? But this is just like one of the things you can do with custom extensions.
Yes, I would say this isn't even the spicy thing that you can do. There's something much cooler. This is kind of the bread and butter what Slinkity's been trying to do, but process .jsx files and turn them into pages.
Okay.
There is something we can do for that. So I do want to at least start with like how we might do this without add extension, because there is a way to do it if you're using Snowpack. Add extension just adds a little convenience. So what I would do is just do that add template formats thing again, but for JSX.
Got it. So does this take a list of things? Like I could just say JSX up here?
I hope so. I mean, we'll find out in a second.
Yeah, we can test this because we know that if I come in here and I say, maybe I won't call this index, maybe I'll just call this component.jsx, then I'll say hello world, and I will immediately get syntax highlighting issues, but rebuild. Okay. Doesn't look like it's picking that up.
That's a shame.
It could be that maybe it's expecting like an array or something. Maybe I'll try that. Good. Aha! It does take an array.
Aha! All right. That's good to know. Because in the docs, they suggest set template formats, I think. And that will override stuff. So like if you use set template formats here, HTML is not recognized anymore. Which is like, why would I do that?
Yeah. Do you want Eleventy to forget how to be Eleventy?
Yes, you can do that.
All right. Cool. So now that we've got it picking up JSX templates, what would be, kind of in this pre-add extension way, how would you go about processing your JSX files?
Yeah, I would stop using browser sync and reach for an interesting tool called Snowpack. Which is a bundler that you can point to a directory of JSX files and it'll magically beam them into regular JS files and you don't have to do anything. So we can just do that because we can see it's copying our JSX stuff already.
Yes.
So if we just tell Snowpack, hey, look at _site and translate this for me. It'll go ahead and do it.
That's odd though too. It's like you're building after your build.
It's a double build.
Yeah.
It's a double build.
Okay. So is that quick enough that we could demonstrate how to do that real quick? Or...
It should be.
Okay.
It should be.
Let's try it. What do I do?
I would just go ahead and install Snowpack first.
That's just npm I Snowpack?
Yeah.
Okay. Anthony, thank you for dropping the Snowpack link in there.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
It's got a lot of stuff, so
it
takes a moment. Yeah, but it doesn't ship it, so you can ignore it.
All right.
So yeah,
get back here.
There's a couple things. So all it does, if you've ever used something like Parcel before, it's actually very similar. Where with Parcel, as long as you have like an HTML file that imports some stuff, it'll be smart enough to convert anything it's trying to import that's invalid. Like if we try to import component.js in an HTML file, it'll be smart enough to say, oh, you're trying to import a JSX file. I'll convert it really quickly and then add it into your page. So to get that working, the first thing, if you go to component.jsx, let's make a component.
Yeah. So probably need to, should I be installing React and stuff like that too?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel silly.
I mean, if we could do React without, doing any React, right? Like that would be fine, right?
It's just JavaScript, right?
Oh,
That's
it's
what they
just
said.
JavaScript. Yeah. This is a component
Sure is.
make
Semantic markup and all.
this div clickable if you dare. There we go. Love me my clickable divs, you know. Me, famously a fan of clickable divs. Anyways, installing React. And probably also React DOM.
Sure enough.
Cool. All right.
Yes. Oh, that's fast.
It was.
I think a snowpack gets most of it,
Oh,
and they just have to push it the last little way.
Cool.
Okay, we have that. And you will need to do import React from React at the top of that file. I know React's been... Yeah. I know. It doesn't work.
Anthony, thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Go ahead and enjoy those tuna emotes.
Ooh.
Import React from React. Okay. All right.
And export this guy.
Yes.
And then we're pretty much good.
Okay. Cool. So we got a basic React component. This looks very familiar. This is my day-to-day work, you know.
This is it. This is my jam in the jam stack.
Mm.
So yes, all we have to do now is try to use this inside of an HTML file. So the Snowpack docs actually suggest how to do this. Maybe we can pull those up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just for
I've not
just to give some reference.
Yeah, I've not actually played with Snowpack. So
yeah,
there we go. Let me also drop the link to this in the chat. I guess Anthony's already done that, hasn't he? But 503 serve her air. Oh, server error. Okay. 503, thank you so much for the follow.
Oh, I thought we had one. I was like, oh.
No. All right. Yeah, so quick start. Probably. Yeah, here we go. So here's how you install it, and then you just run it. Seems
done this.
Snowpack dev, Snowpack build. Okay, but you said I needed to go ahead and try to use my component in my HTML file first?
Yeah. So I did find they don't have a direct link to this on the docs page, or I was struggling to find it. But if you search their documentation for React, they have a React quick start, and that's really useful.
Ooh, getting started with React.
Yeah, sure enough.
That is okay.
Here
we go. Let me.
Oh, it's scrolled to the bottom, but yes.
Oh God, don't open the Stream Manager. Just streamer problems. Okay, go to the very bottom. You said. I am at
oh no, I'd scroll up. I don't know how. I don't know how we got here.
Yeah.
But yeah. And all of this stuff, it says install the things that we have already installed. Okay. So that's good. And then there should be something in here about actually you can create a little component. And that's the main thing is we would need a div with an ID of root, of course. And then those little red lines there are what it's suggesting we do.
Got it.
We can just throw those lines in a script tag.
Okay, so let's. I guess first of all, we got our div ID equals root. Travis, thank you so much for subscribing. Enjoy those tuna emotes and that little founder badge you got there. Y'all, there are only 25 founder badges to give away, so if you're interested, go ahead and subscribe. You'll be supporting me getting closed captions for the uploads of these streams. So just know that your subs go to a good cause. Cool. So set that script. And then you want import React DOM from, I guess import React from React. Import React DOM from React DOM. Then doing a React DOM dot render. It comes from put the root first, right? No, it's the app first, I think.
The docs explain this if you just want to copy from
there we go. Yes.
Yeah, you can just copy those 3 lines. It's literally what you're writing.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, no problem. I also want to say hello, Travis. I work with him at Peloton.
Travis
Thanks for coming out. Oh, is it a different Travis?
It might be a different Travis.
I don't see the chat. I don't know. Okay.
All right. So we'll start with this one. Okay. And then we can import our. Oh, I guess I can go ahead and start importing the component, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do that. Import Vivian. Thank you so much for the follow. Um, okay.
Mm.
Where?
Where do we import?
Yeah. So it looks like. Why is it that the
Yeah,
pluses are red and the minuses like this is the
it
opposite
is
of
a
this?
lot to take in.
That isn't twice.
So at the top of these docs, or further up, not at the top,
Okay.
there was a way to import it, but I can just explain it with words.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that
Let's
just for the sake of
Okay.
time.
So yeah, all you have to do is import component, whatever it is. Yeah, from and then you would just say the local path to it. So slash component and then .js. You do
Okay.
not do .jsx because what Snowpack is going to do is it's going to see you're trying to import JavaScript. Are you trying to import a flavor of JavaScript? Okay,
Ah,
it's a JSX file. I'm going to import that, convert that on the fly, and put it in.
got it.
Um,
So then this
yeah,
is just be my component
and
slash that.
I will call out here you can't use JSX format in a script. It's
Oh,
kind of a
okay,
bummer.
right.
So you can do react.createElement my component, and
Okay.
then it'll be happy. Yeah, little thing
Yep. Okay.
that is not supported.
Cool.
But yes,
All right. So is this everything I need to have? With the snowpack, have
with
my
the
big.
snowpack,
Okay. And I
it
probably
should
need to
be
run a snowpack command too, right?
correct. So we can keep our Eleventy server running. We should be good to do that.
I'm not actually running it right now.
Ah,
There we go. Um,
cool. And then in a separate tab or something, we can go ahead and head over here.
there we go. Head. There we go.
Yeah. And then just jump into the site folder
Okay.
because we wanna run it from there. We could also do
Got
a
it.
config file and all that, but yeah, if you just run snowpack dev, I think
Um,
it'll work.
let's see. Snowpack. Oh, I think it's NPX.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I have
Okay.
it installed globally, so I
Got it.
forgot.
Okay. Run it on 8081 instead.
Oh, right. Sorry, go back to the other tab. This is what I had mentioned before, where once you have chosen Snowpack, you must part ways with browser sync.
Oh, I see.
So, because then you have two servers. That's
Mm-hmm.
the thing about Snowpack is it pretty much requires that you have a server running if you're in a dev setup.
Mm-hmm.
So it replaces browser sync and does a bunch of other stuff. So if you just run a dash dash watch instead,
Okay.
we should be good.
Then I think in that case, we can come back here and update this to be. There we go.
Watch, yeah.
You got it. All right. So now it's on watch, and I come back here. I restart my snowpack command. It should claim 8080. There we go. It's going to
Yes.
open an Opera because, of course. There we go. Let's see.
I
So,
love it.
there is nothing in there right now. Let's take a look.
There is nothing, but let's check some things.
Root is empty.
So we have our root. That's
Script is there.
cool. And then we have our script. And Snowpack's smart enough to resolve packages like we have React in quotes there, and that's not a thing. But Snowpack will go find it. Cannot. Oh, we forgot type module on our script.
Oh, I see. Man, this.
For those, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You have a bunch of little things, but once you get your setup going, you never have to think about it again.
Yeah.
So for those unaware, you can use import syntax in browsers now. If you're so used to Webpack, where it's like I have to bundle everything and run it as a script. These days in the browser, you can just say import my script from here, and then it'll just go import that script. All we're using Snowpack for really is to convert things on the fly that we didn't want to convert ourselves. Like our JSX file needs to turn into something the browser can understand, and it'll just go do that.
Yes. So
As we see here.
yeah, we've got a component now. It is thoroughly a component, which is exciting.
Yes.
Is there more you wanted to demonstrate with Snowpack here?
Yeah. So what we've done here is we haven't used add extension at all. You can go do this today and have fun with it. And it is kind of cumbersome to have the two-step build. You can use their JavaScript API to tell Eleventy to go kick it off, and then you can save yourself a step. But we don't need to do that. But what we've done here is manually written out all of the code we need to render a React component on our page. So if we wanted to make another page on our site, like about.html, and that also uses React, we'd have to copy paste the same script module every time, which we can do. It's not terrible. And we also need to change which component we're importing and all of that. But with add extension, we can automate this whole script thing and just insert it.
I love it.
Come to think of it, you could probably do it with like HTML transforms and stuff, but that's not what we're showing off today. So let's go ahead and add JSX as an extension.
So we've already got that up. As an extension. Got it.
Yes.
Eleventy config dot add extension JSX. And then it's an object. Probably not going to have front matter, right? So read false.
Read false, yeah.
Output file extension is JS. HTML.
So yeah, what we're doing here is basically saying every time you see a JSX file, I want you to make an HTML page for me, pretty much. And then we'll do the manual copy of the JSX file alongside it.
I see.
So that's good.
And you said that output file extension by default is HTML, right? So I can leave this like commented out.
You could, yes. And then you need the get data again. It's a required property, even if you have nothing. So it can just return nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of leave it there. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Get that out of the way.
Should be good. And then we do our compile within a compile to go get this thing working.
And we're going to return async. Do we need async for this?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So we have that. And from here, we need to do two things. The first one is now that we've added it as an extension, it's not going to keep copying over that JSX file anymore. It's going to make an HTML file. So this isn't super clean, but I've just been using the Node APIs to manually read and write the file.
Okay.
Which is like, it's one option. That's the one issue with add extension is you can't return multiple files. You have to return exactly one. So if you want to import read file and write file, we can do that. fs/promises will give you the asyncable one. Yeah.
Read file, write file from where fs promises.
Yeah.
I guess that too. There we go. Cool.
Yeah, and then in here you can just say await write file. And this is just a way to copy a file, by the way. The path will be I had to mess around with this a little bit.
Okay.
Do you mind if I send you some disgusting regex in the chat?
Yeah. Are you sending that in the Zoom chat? Is that what's going on?
Let's do that.
Okay. Cool.
Sure.
I will look forward to your discussing regex.
You can just put this at the top. It was probably a bit ambitious to try to do all of this stuff on the same stream, but if people want to try it at home, here is the way.
Ooh. Okay.
So what this is doing, it's not crazy, I swear. All it's doing is saying Eleventy is going to generate the output path for us, but it's going to generate it with .html on the end. And we want to say, don't do that. Write the file as a JSX as normal. Yeah, the output path. So when we write this file, we're just going to write to that JSX output path there.
Okay. Ah, I see. So
Yeah, this is in the
JSX
weeds, but I mean,
output path.
you do it once and you're done. And then you can say comma await read file from the input path. So all this is going to do is it's going to read the JSX file we're converting right now and spit it out into our build. So that way Snowpack still knows about it
Okay.
and can still convert it for us. Um, but we're going to return some HTML here that tries to go read that file.
Mm-hmm.
A little weird to explain. But all you have to do now is what we're going to return from this is that set of script tags in the index.html if you head over there.
Return. So like return as like a template string.
Yeah, it's just going to be a big string of stuff.
Okay, cool. So
yeah, if you head to our
yes.
index.html, just copy it.
Cool.
This whole guy.
Just the whole script tags, all that.
All of it.
Cool.
Yes. And then this will just, this will be the template output. So every time I make a JSX file, I want to make in some HTML with this in it, and then have my component that sort of slots its way in. So that is pretty much everything that you would need. And the only problem here is not going to wrap it with like the HTML and body tags and all of that. So that's a little thing. You might as well just add those actually.
Okay, just the whole HTML syntax.
Yeah.
Just
we
everything?
might maybe just copy the file. Yeah. I
You
mean, we
got
could also apply a layout and do this fancily, but just to at least show
yeah.
what this guy is doing.
Anthony, thank you so much for joining. Glad you could make it. And yeah, just I guess as a word to the chat, please don't just like drop random links into the chat. Putting documentation in there is helpful, but don't just like put anything in there, please.
Oof.
Yeah. So okay, so we got this, and then now do I need to make some changes in here so that like I'm choosing a particular component?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. So you can just use the JSX import path that I threw in there. That
Okay.
weird regex.
So that would be inside these inside this string
Yes.
here, but like it's going to be JSX import path. Is that what it was called?
Yeah. And that regex is just saying make it local and make it .js and not JSX.
Cool. And then I shouldn't need to change the component name or anything like that. So that should be it, right?
That should be it, I believe. Yeah.
So if I save this, we should get, what would we expect to see?
We would expect to see an index.html that, or sorry, a component.html, come to think of it.
Okay, let me check
So,
the dev tools
let's
here.
check that. Yeah,
right.
so Snowpack's happy. It hasn't seen anything it can't convert. But if you head to the Eleventy tab, we may have some problems in there.
Yeah, Eleventy's not happy with that. There's no site component index.jsx. That's a weird that it's like instantly like, you need your component name to be the directory. Like,
yeah, it does do that as well. It's not very fun. But yeah, head on back there. Let me see if we're missing anything.
back in the code?
Oh, I think I know the problem. Yeah, I was testing this by naming everything index.
Okay.
The issue, the issue is I was trying to write a file to that component directory, and it doesn't exist. So mild issue. I think just for demo purposes, rename component JSX to index, and then delete the index.html.
Good. So we're gonna delete
because we're replacing it basically.
And probably would, let me just restart both of these things, I think.
Yeah.
Just keep them happy. There's that. But it's gonna open Opera again. But like, look at that. That is a component, and yeah. So this is all looking good, and I think the real test, I guess, would be if I go in here. Yeah, I guess there is no more index HTML. Um,
Yes.
so
So
I
what
could.
we've done is we've like basically wrapped our component in some HTML tags and written a script that'll import the JavaScript version of this correctly.
Okay,
So if it works,
doesn't seem to be updating this automatically though. So I think it might be having issues with the premature close.
ah, no.
No.
Spooky.
So we're writing a file, but then we're returning stuff after the fact.
Yes. So, I mean, the first case is we're just telling Snowpack about our JSX file. And then the second part is we're generating some HTML that will import that
Oh, I see.
JSX file. So we're taking in a JSX file and we're spitting out
Oh, there it
the
is.
JSX
It
file
did
and some
build.
HTML.
I forgot I had
Amazing.
renamed. Yeah, I forgot I had renamed. There we go. So
Correct.
yeah, let me just to make sure we're like totally clear what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be a setting in Eleventy somewhere to just like clear underscore site on every build. Would love that. Feature
There
request
should
that.
be. Yeah.
Okay.
And I hate to say it, but you might. Okay. Go check it.
There we go.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah.
Or is that okay? If you go back to Node, uh, I think the issue is that you need to have the underscore site folder already. This
Oh.
is it's just because of the read file write file hack we used is not a good.
All right. So I'll just create an empty underscore site that I suppose if I have to, then
Yeah, we'll clean this up and ship it in a package. You know.
yep. There we are. So that
still
should okay. So we've got yeah this index.jsx which has our component in it, and then there's this index.html which is pulling that in and everything. Seems to be working like a charm. And if I
That's
go
it.
back here, yeah, we can see that it is successfully pulling up. It's not actually running it apparently. Come on, Snowpack.
Well, it was.
It was. Yeah. Okay. So
We can try running it again.
no such file. All right.
Whoa.
I think that's fine though.
Let's ignore that.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fine. We've got my lovely indented HTML file and everything. But I think
You know how it is.
I think we've got like the bones of like a general idea here though, right? Man, Fimian, thank you so much for the subscription. I really appreciate that. Please take advantage of that tuna emote. I'm working on getting other emotes. They will come. They will be T-Rex themed. It will be delightful. But in the meantime, please
Amazing.
enjoy that cool tuna. But yeah, so the general vibe here is like, first of all, we have to tell Eleventy, hey, files other than Markdown and Nunjucks and your other like in HTML and your other template languages, etc. Um, Files other than that exist, right? And that's what we're doing with this add template formats. So we're telling Eleventy, I need you to start caring about other kinds of files because these are files that could be used to create pages. And then for each of those kinds of files, we have to add extension here. So we've got this big old object that tells it basically, do you try to like look for front matter? We tell it, hey, here's the output file extension. We can add front matter of our own, so we can add information into the data cascade. And here's where we describe how, like, what the contents of the file themselves actually will be. Ed, thanks for the sub. Enjoy those tunas. So that is the general flow here, and I think with this, you can do basically anything, right? Like
anything.
What are so? I know we didn't quite get to doing like things like view templates and stuff like that. But what are?
Oh, sure.
I guess I'm very curious about the outer edges of this. Like, what do you think are the kind of wonkiest things that people could or would do with something like add extension?
Yeah. I mean, my head has been so on like the component frameworks. Like this is actually, in order to figure out how this works, I inspected because Zach made a plugin that lets you use Vue in Eleventy. It's
Yeah.
actually something Netlify is using today. So they're using experimental stuff, but that's
Yeah.
how he got Vue working. He invented this API just to make Vue work, pretty much. But yeah, you can do all of those sorts of things. If you wanted to invent your own extension, like I know Astro has their own .astro file, there's
Yeah.
no reason you can't make Astro work in this, right? Uh, that'd be interesting to try out. But you can make any extension you want and just get it going. And if
Mhm.
they allow a way to like take in one file and export multiple, like in our case where we wanted to take in a component and spit out an HTML that imports that component, that would really do a lot of interesting stuff. Like if you import a component that has styles, like you could take
Yes.
in that component and spit out the styles for that component and the component
That would be
itself.
very cool.
So you could just do all sorts of crazy things. And
Yeah.
you can let the snowpack level do that too. It's kind of two bundlers that are each really smart. And
Hmm.
you can choose which one you want to use for certain use cases. And I'm still trying to figure out where you should use each one.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about this in terms of like, and I know you do the blogging, I do the blogging, and I love having like little interactive demos sometimes. And
Right.
it's like it would be really nice to have that kind of like Reacty component driven experience there, but um, I like my site is built with Eleventy, and so for each of those demos, I end up having to do those with like DOM manipulation, right? It's just like
Right.
sometimes I just want that nice stateful logic.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the dream with what Slinkity is trying to do, but you could do it
Hmm.
at home.
Yeah.
Making a little short code. So, like, what if I was writing a post about React versus Svelte, and I want to
Hmm.
embed a Svelte component and a React component next to each other, little
Yes.
sandboxes, and just get them working?
Hmm.
There should be no reason I can't like make a little shortcode that says slot in a React component and then slot in a Svelte component, and then
Yes.
I'll tell you how to support those extensions,
Hmm.
and I'll use Snowpack and all that other magic. Um, so yeah, there's all sorts of use cases where it's like, I don't want to go all in on Next.js or something. I just want to be a
Yes.
little dynamic when I want to. And if I never
Yes.
need to, great. I ship no JavaScript. And I didn't have to learn any of these tools if I'm a beginner.
Hmm. I totally agree with that. Yeah, and I think that that also makes it perhaps easier to like one of the reasons I went to Eleventy, because my blog used to be on Gatsby. One of the reasons I went to Eleventy was I realized like every few years you're gonna do a rehost of your site, right? Like or for
Yeah,
me, right? Like I'm gonna do a rehost of
you
my
are.
blog. Uh, I won't be on Eleventy for time immemorial, right? And what I want is something that'll help me port away from what I've got, right? Like this feels rude to say, but I mean it in genuinely the like most compliment I can provide. You want a disposable framework, right? Because you want
Exactly.
the thing that's going to help you um, move away from it down the road. You don't want something that's going to lock you in. That framework lock in isn't good. And so if you like default to doing something like React components, well, when the time comes that you want to move away from React, right, it's going to be very hard because you now have to translate all your React stuff over into something else. Starting with Eleventy as a base is great because it means
Exactly.
you can start with like Markdown as your base. Markdown is
That's not going
yeah,
away,
Markdown is
right?
forever. Markdown is immortal. We
Markdown
all
for life.
bow in service of Markdown. Markdown is our one true god. Um, but it's like even still that decision of choosing something that's easy to dispose of down the road if you need kind of comes with its own constraints. If you don't get that flexibility, you don't get that like declarative, um, stateful, component driven patterns. So it's like it's really nice to see some things that kind of meet you in the middle there, give you React just where
Exactly.
you need it.
That's what it is. Because like what Eleventy gives you is like helping with data. Like
Yes.
most of their work is like, I will go fetch the CMS stuff for you and I will slot it into whatever you tell me. And that's kind of what
Yes.
Ad Extension lets you do. Is it's like let Eleventy handle talking and grabbing a bunch of data from somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll tell it how to slide that into my framework of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to like gradually migrate from React to Svelte or whatever, I'm still using the same thing to fetch all my data and make the pages exist. I can
Yes.
just say my about page is Svelte now. I'm going to add Svelte as an extension and
Mm-hmm.
just make it a component
That's
and then
awesome.
go from there. Like
Is
that's the dream, and
that,
it's what I feel like everyone's working towards right now. I'm
that
just
is
not sure where it'll end up where it's not so experimental.
mm-hmm. That is so cool. Ben, thank you so much for coming on. It has been fantastic having
Absolutely.
you. This has been delightful, and I'm already gonna try to figure out how I can abuse this. Because that's what I
I
do
know.
is I figure out Eleventy's experimental features and I try to figure out how I can break them. Um, Hence all the stuff I've been doing with Eleventy serverless Twitch chats on the side. Um, but this has been great. Chat, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the follows, and thank you especially for everyone who subscribed. Um, Stick around. I'm going to try to find someone to raid. And also come back next week, next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central. I'm going to have Ashley Boyer on. Ashley is a fantastic accessibility expert. We're going to be talking about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, which is semantic markup. Who would have thought that semantics likes semantics? But yeah, we'll be having Ashley on. We're going to be talking about how you can debug semantic markup for accessibility, figure out, like, really and truly, like, how do you know when the semantics you have are right? So we'll be doing that together next Tuesday, 12 p.m. Central, and y'all should absolutely be there. Um, Thank you again, all of you, for being here, and I will catch you next week. Bye, y'all.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, y'all.